Amazing 63-year-old woman gave birth in New York. Then 24 hours later, hidden Cctv revealed a life-changing intrusion. The room felt alive with the soft coos of a newborn. June gingerly cradled her baby against her chest, heart spilling over with a love she thought she'd never feel. This was the moment she had dreamed about for years. Memories of late-night shifts as a nurse and countless days filled with heartbreak and hurdles seemed like distant echoes now. The soft hum of Astoria outside, full of life and hope, mirrored her own swelling spirit. Just 24 hours with her child, and already every doubt about her age felt melted away in the warmth of motherhood. June's laughter echoed against the sterile hospital walls, the weight of her dreams finally realized. All the late nights worrying about a future that seemed elusive vanished into the ether. Her miracle was here. But just when June felt like she had her whole world completed, a crackle disrupted the peace. A small screen revealed a shadow slipping into her room. Who was this young man with the haunted look in his eyes? At first, an instinct took over. He was just another loser, another thief trying to take advantage of the system. But as she watched, heart racing, something in his eyes pulled her in. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His sunken cheeks and threadbare jacket told stories of sleepless nights and broken dreams. June's heart ached at that realization. Was he lost too? That wounded air about him. He wasn't just looking to steal things. He had something deeper to recover. The tension began to stir something inside June. A familiar kick of instinct, born from years of nursing, of helping those in need. "What do you want?" she found herself asking, her voice a mixture of fear and compassion. For a moment they just stood there, two souls burdened by shades of life they didn't choose. Buckling under the weight, he revealed everything, his service, his honor, and his unraveling in a society that had long discarded him. Her nurturing spirit surged. This was no monster, but a man wounded by the very world she had lived to heal. Suddenly her own struggles flashed before her eyes. Those sleepless hospital nights, her yearning to nurture, to protect, to love. June stood at a crossroads. In that hospital room, the essence of motherhood revealed itself, not just in holding her baby, but in embracing humanity, even when it terrified her. As the pulse of Astoria hummed around her, she felt the full weight of her decision hanging by a thread. Would she lean into the fear, or trust in the compassion that had always fueled her? That shared moment, where worlds collided, seemed to echo behind her like a whisper. What would she choose? The world outside felt closer, alive with possibilities. But what about this man? The stakes were high, and June sensed the dawning of a new chapter, casting shadows of doubt in the light of unexpected love. June's fingers trembled slightly as she steadied her grip on her baby, feeling the warmth of her child's body against her chest, a grounding force amidst the chaos. She looked at the man, his features caught in a play of shadows and light. The vulnerability etched into his face mirrored her own uncertainties. In that fragile moment, it was as if time slipped away, leaving only the essence of humanity. "Why are you here?" June asked again, her voice softening, inviting him to share his burden. The air in the room felt heavy, each heartbeat echoing the weight of unspoken stories. The man shuffled his feet, a gesture of reluctance. I didn't mean to intrude. I don't know where to go. I thought maybe I could find help." "Help?" The word unlatched something inside June, a flicker of recognition sparking to life. Hadn't she spent her career offering help to those in need? Her heart, swollen with maternal instinct, simultaneously ached for the child she held and this lost soul standing before her. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Eli," he murmured, as if ashamed to claim it. The name hung in the air, a lifeline reaching toward her. "I'm June. And this," she said, indicating the tiny babe nestled against her, "is my daughter Skylar." Eli's eyes softened, a brief glimmer of warmth breaking through his guarded demeanor. "She's beautiful." "Thank you," June said, a spark of pride igniting in her. "Do you have a home, Eli? Family?" He shook his head, the movement small and defeated. "Not anymore. Been on my own for too long. I just got out of a bad situation." The last words came out in a whisper, burdened with untold pain. June nodded, understanding, flickering like a flame. "Everyone has their battles, Eli. I was once surrounded by darkness too. It's tough to see the light again." Her gaze searched his, a silent plea for connection. "But you're not alone right now." Eli held his breath, uncertainty mingling with a sparking hope. In that split second, the walls she had composited around her crumbled just a bit. Could she extend such a deep compassion to someone who felt so utterly lost? "I lost everything," he confessed, shoulders sagging. "I just thought, maybe if I could help in some way, I could feel, I don't know, something better." "Helping can heal," June reassured him, her voice steady. "Maybe it's time for us both to find a little light." Eli's expression shifted, the panic in his eyes beginning to fade. "You're not scared. I mean, I never meant to scare you." "No," she said resolutely. "You've mourned enough. Let's turn it around." Sparked by her words, June felt something shift within her. This was no simple decision. This was a call toward depth, toward healing in an unexpected way. They were two strangers brought together by circumstance, and together they could create something meaningful. "But what happens now?" Eli asked, voice trembling with possibilities. June smiled gently, feeling the weight of the world lift just a fraction. "Let's figure that out together. You're welcome here for now, and we can find you the support you need." But as Eli stepped closer, a sudden commotion erupted outside the room, voices rising in urgency. June's heart raced once more, a sense of foreboding washing over her. In a single moment, she had opened her heart, but would it be enough to keep them both safe? As the door burst open, she held her breath, fearing what awaited them both. What awaited on the other side? The door slammed open, rattling the frame and sending a chill through the warm air. June's heart dropped to her stomach as three figures burst into the room, their voices a cacophony of angry shouts and frantic commands. The scene erupted, confusion wrapping around her like a thick fog. "Get down!" one of the men barked, and instinctively June hunkered down, clutching Skylar tightly to her chest. Eli, who had been standing near the wall, froze, his face a mix of shock and fear. She glanced at him, seeing his eyes wide and panic-stricken. Was it fear of what was about to happen, or the memory of what had brought him to this place? The second man, eyeing the room, pointed straight at June and Eli. "You two stay right there." His voice demanded compliance, but June sensed something deeper, a fragility underneath their bravado. "What do you want?" Eli managed to ask, his voice shaky yet firm. June admired the way he stood his ground, even amidst the chaos. "Just a little chat," the third man said with a sneer, his gaze flicking between the two of them. "Word on the street is that you might know something valuable." June's mind raced. Valuable. Her heart quickened. She had nothing to offer. She was just a mother trying to protect her child. She realized with a distinct clarity that the warmth she had felt moments ago had vanished. "We don't know anything," she said, her voice surprisingly steady, trying to muster whatever courage was left within her. She met Eli's eyes, pleading for a shared understanding. They were in this together now. "I think you do," the first man pressed, stepping forward, shoulders tense like a coiled spring. Eli took a step back instinctively, his body retreating as if to shield June and Skylar. "Please, just leave us alone." His shout held a desperation that echoed in the charged atmosphere. Yet June felt an unexpected strength knitting their alliance in those seconds. A gruff laugh escaped the one who had been silent until now, and it sent shivers down her spine. "People like you think you can hide, think you can walk away from your past, but it has a way of finding you." June's thoughts spiraled. What could possibly have drawn such danger into their lives? Was Eli culpable in something far beyond her understanding? A twist of fear mingled with sadness. She didn't want to believe he was part of something dark. Who are you?" she suddenly demanded, the question a sharp edge against the chaos. "What do you want with him?" The aggressive trio smirked, but their eyes danced like puppeteers controlling their fate. "Let's just say, secrets always come with a price." Suddenly the crowd noise outside surged, and sirens blared in the distance. A glimmer of hope sparked within June. Could the chaos hold the key to their escape? "Time's up, fellas!" she shouted, adrenaline surging, her protective instinct flaring. "You should leave now if you know what's good for you." The seconds felt like hours, her chest tightening as she realized the enormity of their dilemma. The tension was palpable, the threat remaining just out of reach, yet sitting heavily upon her. "Run!" Eli urged, his voice breaking through the maelstrom. Together they moved as one, about to step into the unknown, a life teetering on the brink of danger, where trust had been forged from desperation. What awaited them beyond those walls? Would it be a way out, or another trap closing in? June's heart raced as she and Eli bolted toward the back entrance, adrenaline fueling their desperate escape. Skylar cooed softly in her arms, blissfully unaware of the chaos enveloping them. Each step felt like a battle against time, the heavy footfalls of their pursuers echoing in her mind. They burst through the door and into the alley behind the building, the cool night air slapping their faces like a reminder of their perilous situation. The sounds of the city pulsed around them, the distant blare of sirens, the hum of people living their lives, oblivious to the danger that lurked just moments away. "Which way?" Eli panted, glancing over his shoulder, his eyes darting with fear. "Left! We need to get lost in the crowd," June replied, her voice unusually calm, despite the thundering of her heart. They turned sharply and sprinted down the alley, the noise of their pursuers slowly muffled by the growing distance. They veered into a side street, hoping to find safety among the throngs of pedestrians. June could feel Skylar's weight, a comforting anchor in a storm of uncertainty. "Are they still behind us?" Eli's voice quivered as they dived into a bustling plaza filled with late-night diners and tourists. "I don't know. We can't stop to look," June urged, instinctively pulling him along, her eyes scanning the crowd for a place to hide. They ducked into a small cafe, the warm glow inside contrasting sharply with the chill of the night. The sweet aroma of baked goods and coffee briefly soothed her frazzled nerves as they slipped into a shadowed corner table. "Just breathe," June instructed, trying to steady herself as she did when Skylar was fussy. "We'll regroup and figure this out." Eli exhaled sharply, leaning over the table. "I never wanted to drag you into this, June. If they're here, if they came for me—" She laid a hand on his, silencing him. "You don't get to say that. We're in this together. No more hiding." Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by angry shouts and the frantic sound of footsteps. They shared a look, the gravity of their situation settling in. "What did you get involved in, Eli?" June whispered, the fear creeping back in. The truth seemed to loom between them, dark and heavy. I didn't want it to be like this. I thought I could leave it all behind," Eli confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. June's breath hitched. "Leave what behind?" Before Eli could respond, a waiter passed by, his expression changing as he caught sight of June and Eli's panic-stricken faces. "Hey, you two all right?" he asked, a hint of concern in his voice. June wanted to reach out for help, to be drawn into the normalcy he exuded. Yet a more primal instinct held her back. They were running from something, and this stranger was a risk. "Fine," Eli said quickly, forcing a shrug. "Just tired, that's all." The waiter nodded, but June could see the skepticism bubbling beneath his kindness. He continued walking, not wanting to pry too much, but she noticed him cast another glance back as he disappeared into the kitchen. June swallowed hard, realizing that, despite the warmth of the cafe, they were still standing in a cold reality defined by shadows and uncertainty. "Eli, if you've left something behind, we need to know what we're up against." He hesitated, his eyes flashing with an internal battle that was hard to read. But just then, the door swung open and the trio of dangerous men entered, scanning the room like wolves on a hunt. "Stay low," Eli breathed, his grip tightening around June's hand. June caught her breath, her heart pummeling against her ribs. Could they make it out again? "Look, we can't let them find us here. We have to move," she said, glancing toward the back exit. "What if we don't make it?" Eli's voice trembled. Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like a storm. "If we don't, then we'll face it together. I won't let them take you." As the men's voices grew louder, they slipped out of their hiding spot, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. But would this time bring them freedom or finality? Their escape into the unknown was just beginning, and each moment felt consumed by a question. Could they outrun their history, or would it catch up to them at the darkest hour? June's mind raced as they crouched along the edge of the cafe's back hallway. Distant sounds of laughter from the diners outside mixed with the clatter of plates, but she could feel every twinge of her muscles and the staggering weight of anticipation pressing down on her. "Come on," Eli urged, his face a mask of determination tinged with fear. "We can't stay here." She nodded, gathering her resolve. They had to move. The men inside the cafe had made it clear that they wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. She glanced down at Skylar, who twitched slightly, sensing the tension in the air. "Follow my lead," Eli whispered, and he bolted toward the back door leading to the alley. June followed, her heart pounding as she maneuvered through the tight, dimly lit space. Just as they reached the door, she heard one of the men laugh, a chilling sound that sent a shiver down her spine. "Where do you think you're going?" one of them shouted, causing her stomach to drop. Eli kicked the door open, and they raced out into the cool night air, a cacophony of honking horns and distant shouts enveloping them. "Keep moving," Eli commanded, gripping her hand tightly as he led her deeper into the alleyway. They dashed along the narrow corridor, skirting garbage bins and puddles, until they emerged onto a busy street. The crowd surged around them, oblivious to the threat they faced. June's chest tightened with urgency. "We need a plan. They won't stop until they get you, Eli." "I know. I won't let them take you, Skylar, or our lives," he said vehemently. Determination burned in his eyes. They weaved through the crowd, seeking refuge in a nearby subway station. The flickering fluorescent lights hummed above them. Eli scanned the ticket machines, while June glanced anxiously at the entrance, her heart racing with each passing second. "2 tickets, please," Eli called out, pressing cash into the clerk's hand. The clerk eyed them, but quickly handed back the tickets, uncertainty painted across her face. June could feel her heartbeat echo in her ears. "Let's go!" Eli ushered her forward as they slipped through the turnstile. They hurried down the escalator, the rush of wind from the descending steps a surreal contrast to the tumult they were leaving behind. Once they reached the platform, Eli pulled her close, their breaths mingling with desperation. "What if they come here?" June whispered. Eli shook his head. "We'll just be another face in the crowd." They won't think to look for us in here. Suddenly the roar of an arriving train jolted her. She didn't know whether to hope for safety or tremble with fear. As the train doors slid open, she hesitated for just a second, feeling the thrumming of the city pulsing through the air. "Now!" Eli urged, and they dove onto the train, the doors slamming shut behind them. As they settled onto a bench, the chaos of the city seemed to fade momentarily, but the relief was fragile. The train rocked side to side, and June's mind whirled. "Eli, tell me everything. What are we running from?" His eyes darkened, and she could see the ghosts haunting him. "I made choices, June, choices that put you at risk. I didn't mean for this to happen." She could feel the weight of his shame, but they didn't have time for hesitation. "You need to tell me now. I want to understand." Before he could respond, the train screeched to a sudden halt, its lights flickering ominously. The intercom crackled, announcing a delay. "Oh, no." "What now?" June breathed, scanning the anxious faces around them. Eli's grip tightened around June's hand. "Stay close." The panic rose in her chest again as she looked out the window. A pair of shadows loomed at the edge of the platform, and her breath hitched. Could they be found here? "Eli!" she gasped, the shadows drawing nearer, the weight of their past surfacing at the worst moment. Would the secrets he harbored be the source of their salvation or their undoing? The train remained motionless, suspended in time, while June's heart raced. Eli's grip felt like a lifeline as they stared out at the shadowy figures on the platform. Each moment dragged, the air thick with tension. "Do you see them?" June whispered, her voice trembling. Eli nodded, his eyes narrowing. "Just stay calm." Suddenly the shadows moved, jogging closer. Panic gripped June's chest. "Eli, we can't just sit here." He opened his mouth to respond, but the train doors slid open, the harsh fluorescent light spilling into the car. June's breath caught as she spotted a familiar face step aboard. It was Jesse, one of the men from the cafe, eyes scanning frantically. The moment froze. "Eli!" she hissed, her voice barely a whisper. He turned, his expression hardening. "We need to go." She caught a glimpse of Jesse tapping the phone in his hand, presumably to call for reinforcements. There was no time to think. Eli pulled June out of her seat, and they dove into the crowd, moving instinctively as the train doors began to close behind them. "Move!" Eli urged, leading her toward the rear end of the platform where shadows intertwined with the crowd. Heart-pounding, June felt the surge of bodies around them. She could almost taste the fear, heavy and metallic. They squeezed through the throngs of commuters, Eli navigating with purpose, eyes darting to spot any sign of danger. "What's the plan?" she asked breathlessly, struggling to keep up. "Just stay with me," he panted, glancing back at the train as Jesse exited, scanning the area like a hawk. They rounded a corner, eyes peeled for an exit. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead with an eerie undertone. Then Eli spotted a service door slightly ajar. "Here!" The door creaked as Eli pushed it open, and they slipped inside. It was a dimly lit utility room, filled with maintenance equipment and lingering dust. He closed the door quietly, pressing his back against it, his eyes wide and wild. For a moment all they could do was breathe, heavy, ragged breaths that shook the stillness of the room. "What now?" June asked again, desperation seeping into her voice. Eli looked deep into her eyes, the fierce conviction returning. "I need you to trust me. I won't let them find us." Before she could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway outside. Her pulse quickened again, every sound magnified in that small space. Eli crouched low and pulled her down with him, their bodies pressing against the cool concrete floor. "I don't want to lose you, June," he murmured, his voice raw. "If they catch us." "We can't think like that," June shot back, trying to quell the nerves roiling inside her. "What's going on? Why are they after you? You have to tell me." Eli swallowed, pain flickering across his face. I made a mistake with the wrong people. They think I owe them something I can't pay back. Then we'll get away. We have to keep moving, keep fighting, June said, her voice strong, but her heart was a storm. The footsteps drew nearer, and heat brushed her cheeks as she felt the weight of their situation. This was bigger than them. Would he tell her the whole truth before it was too late? Just as the door handle rattled, Eli's eyes locked onto hers, filled with unspoken fear and determination. Whatever happens, stick together, he insisted. They both held their breath. The door creaked ominously. Would they be discovered? In that moment, their world teetered on the edge of chaos, and June wondered again if the secrets of Eli's past were fated to destroy them, or if they could find a way out. Would love be enough to navigate the darkness that loomed ahead? The door rattled again, and June's heart felt like it might burst. She could hear muffled voices outside, the urgency in them palpable. Eli's grip tightened around her hand. He was hyper-aware, ready to spring into action. But what would that action be? She needed to know their next move, but the fear in his eyes told her he didn't have one. "Please just tell me what to do," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli's gaze flicked to the narrow window in the door. "If they find us, we'll have nowhere to run. Stay quiet." His words were steady, but the tremble in his pulse betrayed his fear. June nodded, biting her lip as she stared at their only exit. With every moment that passed, the air grew more suffocating. The shadows outside moved erratically, and she imagined the men from the cafe, their faces drawn and angry. The sense of confinement was overwhelming, as if the walls were closing in on them. Suddenly a loud thud echoed, and June jumped. Eli's breath hitched beside her. The footsteps stopped. Someone was right outside. It felt like days since they last breathed freely. In that frozen moment, time stretched infinitely. Then the voices grew louder, arguments flaring up just out of reach. "We need to search the whole area," one voice insisted. "He has to be here somewhere." "They can't have gotten far. Keep looking," came another. Tension crackled in the tiny utility room, and an idea sparked in June's mind, igniting a glimmer of hope. "Eli, what if we go through the vents?" she whispered, glancing around the cramped room for any sign of an air duct. Eli shook his head, his face grim. "Not a chance. We could get lost or trapped. We shouldn't split up." "But sitting here is not an option. They'll find us." The panic clawed at her throat. She didn't want to think of what would happen if they succeeded. The door rattled again, and the voices drew nearer. "I'll find him. He can't hide from us." "We have to move," Eli said, urgency coursing through him. Just then, June spotted a pizza delivery box tucked beneath a shelf, its bright colors stark against the muted backdrop of machinery. "What about that?" She pointed. Eli's eyes darted. "What are you thinking? It won't help us." "Just trust me. If I can distract them, maybe you can find a way out through the other room." It was a long shot, but desperation fueled her resolve. "June." Eli started, but she cut him off. "I can do this. I can buy us time. Just promise me you'll get away." Fear flickered across his face, but then he nodded. "If it gets you in danger, it won't." With a swift motion, June grabbed the pizza box and stuffed it under her arm. "Here goes nothing," she whispered, inhaling a shaky breath before moving toward the door. Eli watched her, eyes wide and worried as she pushed it open just a crack. The fluorescent light spilled through, illuminating her resolve as she stepped outside. "Hey!" she shouted, her voice echoing across the cold metal. "You looking for someone?" The startled men outside turned, confusion flashing across their faces. Eli's eyes widened in horror as all sorts of emotions played across his features. She was putting herself at risk, and he hated it, but she also saw something else, a flicker of admiration. "June, no!" Eli hissed, but it was too late. She had already committed. "Come on! I bet you can't catch me!" She turned, sprinting down the hallway, glancing back to see their startled expressions as they began to pursue her. "Get back here!" shouted some voices, but it fueled her determination, burning brightly against the fear gnawing at her insides. Eli's heart raced as she drew the attention away from him. It was reckless, and yet he couldn't help the swell of pride. But would it be enough to keep them safe? Eli was left standing in the shadows, contemplating his next move, unable to shake the feeling that everything was spiraling out of control. His heart thudded heavily in his chest, both for June and for the uncertain battle ahead. Would he find a way to follow her and keep her safe, or would the danger trailing behind them catch up before they could escape? June's legs felt like fire, the adrenaline coursing through her veins driving her forward as she darted around a sharp corner, the pizza box still tucked under her arm. She risked another glance back. A handful of imposing figures were hot on her heels, their shouts becoming more frantic. Where'd she go? "Get her!" She skidded to a halt at another junction, considering her options. The hallway stretched left and right, both ways darker and seemingly endless. Heart racing, she opted for the right, where shadows seemed thicker. Surely they wouldn't expect her to go that way. With every step, she could hear the pounding of her heart drowning out the voices behind her. Suddenly, she spotted a door slightly ajar, its rusty handle glinting in the weak light. Desperation fueled her as she pushed it open, slipping inside just in time to hear the men round the corner, their footsteps echoing like thunder. "Split up! She has to be close!" The door creaked ominously as she closed it quietly, the darkness swallowing her whole. The small room smelled of mildew and dust. Definitely not a safe haven, but it would have to do for now. She crouched behind an old stack of crates, trying to silence her ragged breath, her pulse quickening as whispers of the men seeped through the door. "Check the storerooms. Find her. Don't let her escape again!" If she made a sound now, it could be over. She glanced around, seeking something, anything that could help her. A thick rope dangled from the ceiling, remnants of old equipment. A flicker of an idea sparked in her mind. Just as she was considering her next move, the doorknob rattled violently, making her jump. "She's in here! I can feel it!" The door slammed open, and bright light flooded the room. June's heart sank. The men stepped in, scanning every corner with grim determination. Come out, wherever you are!" One of them sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. She held her breath, praying they wouldn't look past the crates. They were so close now, close enough that she could see the tension on their faces. If she could just buy herself a bit more time. Suddenly, one of them stepped forward, knocking over a stack of cardboard boxes. They thudded loudly against the floor, echoing her own racing heart. "Let's check this side." Another moved in her direction, determination radiating from his posture. In that moment of panic, June's resolve shifted. She needed to act again. She couldn't remain hidden forever. With no time to waste, she surged back to the door, ready to dash for freedom once more. But the first man was already close, too close. "I've got her," he shouted, lunging toward her. June's instincts kicked in. She ducked and rolled away just as he reached for her, narrowly escaping. She burst through the other entrance of the room and raced down another corridor, feeling the rush of air on her face. Desperation turned into pure will as she pushed herself harder, her muscles screaming for relief. But where was Eli? She quickly skated around another corner, trying to retrace her steps to their hiding spot. Behind her, shouts rang out again, worse this time, louder, closer. They weren't far now. Her breath came in swift, sharp gasps. She had to find Eli, had to make sure he was okay. They were a team, and without him, everything felt off balance. Before she could gather her thoughts, she rounded another corner and came face to face with a tall man she recognized. It was Eli, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and relief. "June!" he called, his voice laced with urgency. "Eli, we need to go!" But before they could take a step, footsteps thundered down the hall, and the shadows of trouble loomed closer, hungry for their escape. "Now!" Eli urged, grabbing her hand once more. They moved in sync, sprinting back in the opposite direction, every corner turned feeling like a second chance, but their pursuers were relentless. "Where next?" June shouted, glancing back to see how far behind they were. Eli looked ahead, a flicker of determination in his eyes. "There! The skylight! We can make it!" As they barreled toward the exit, the reality of their desperate situation hammered home. Freedom was just ahead, but danger was breathing down their necks. Would they make it to safety, or would the shadows catch them in their grasp? The skylight loomed ahead, its frame dark against the overhead glow of the emergency lights. June and Eli pushed themselves forward, their feet pounding against the cold concrete. Each step came with jagged breaths, desperation fueling their speed as the chaos behind them grew louder. "Can you lift it?" June called out, her voice tinged with urgency. Eli nodded, his jaw set in determination. "Just help me get there." The skylight was above them, unreachable without a boost. June could feel the urgency in her chest tightening. Every second counted, and they had to think fast. She glanced behind just in time to see the closest pursuer appear at the end of the hallway, eyes wild and desperate. "Now, Eli!" she shouted, adrenaline propelling her forward. He leapt, fingers barely brushing the edge, but it was enough for him to find his footing. With a jump and a push, he pulled himself up onto the edge, barely a moment from danger. "Come on!" he yelled down, his eyes locked on her. June couldn't waste a heartbeat. She scrambled towards him, her palms smacking against the cool concrete as she jumped. Eli stretched out his hand, catching her wrist just as she propelled herself upwards. With one powerful yank, he pulled her to him, and they both tumbled onto the ledge. They caught their breath in a frantic rhythm, staring down at the chaos below, where shadows danced like angry phantoms. "We can't stay here long," Eli whispered, scanning the room below. June nodded, her heart pounding in her ears. Just then, another loud voice echoed from the hallway. "This way! They can't escape!" "We have to get out now," she urged. The fear felt real, and she could sense every heartbeat resonating with a gnawing dread, a feeling of being cornered, of danger breathing down their necks. "On 3, Eli said, gripping the edge as he gauged their escape route. 1, 2... "I can't," June started, but her words were swallowed by the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. 3! Eli pulled her toward the skylight, and without hesitation they propelled themselves forward, landing on the roof with a bone-jarring thud. The cold night air wrapped around them, sharp and refreshing. They took a moment to collect themselves, glancing around. The vastness of the city stretched out before them, a web of life pulsating in the darkness, and here they were, perched far above it all. "We need to find a way down," Eli panted, scanning the sides of the building for anything that resembled an escape route. "Do you see that fire escape?" June pointed towards a rickety staircase dangling from the side of the adjacent building. Eli squinted, determination flaring. "Let's go." They edged along the ledge, hearts racing, toes gripping the rough surface. The adrenaline coursed through them, blinding them to the danger as they clamored to reach the fire escape. But beneath their rush, a sliver of doubt crept in. What if the men spotted them? What if they dared to chase them up here? The night felt so wide and empty, but their panic felt like hastening footsteps behind them, a whirlwind of chaos and dread. As they reached for the rusted railing, a loud bang echoed from below. Something heavy hit the ground, followed by the unmistakable roar of voices. June froze, pain slicing through her resolve. "Now what?" she whispered, tightening her grip on Eli's arm. "We can't go back down that way," he said, glancing towards a narrow ledge that disappeared into darkness. "We have to keep moving." June gulped, fear rising like bile in her throat. "What if they follow?" "Then we fight," Eli replied, voice steady, though his eyes revealed the uncertainty hidden beneath the surface. They stood there on the precipice of the unknown, weighing the risks of their next move. With the sound of pursuit closing in, June knew they had to decide swiftly, but the direction seemed fraught with peril. As they exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passed between them. They were in this together, and they would either find freedom or fall into oblivion. But now all they had was each other. "What are we waiting for?" June urged, stepping toward the shadowed ledge. With her heart in her throat, she took a deep breath and prepared to leap into whatever awaited them. And as they took that leap, a thought struck June. Would they find themselves alive on the other side, or would the shadows finally catch up with them? The world spun in a blur as June and Eli plummeted toward uncertainty. The sheer drop seemed never-ending, the ground below rushing up to meet them with heart-stopping speed. When they hit, it was with a hard thud, but they landed in a patch of soft grass. They gasped for air, pain coursing through their bodies, but the thrill of survival sang in their veins. "Are you okay?" June gasped, struggling to catch her breath. She glanced at Eli, desperately searching his face for signs of injury or fear. "I think so, just a bit winded." He smiled weakly, the adrenaline still pumping between them like electricity. "But we made it." They didn't have time for recovery. Cold sweat clung to June's brow as she helped him up, glancing around. They were in a secluded park, dimly lit by the glowing street lamps that lined the sidewalk. The distant sounds of the city felt muted, as if reality had softened around them. "We need to keep going," she urged, her voice tremulous but resolute. Eli nodded, his trust in her steady. "Which way?" She paused, scanning for signs of life, anything that could provide safety. "That way," June said, pointing toward a shadowy path bordered by trees, almost like a gateway to freedom. They took off, limbs sore but minds sharp, hearts clamoring with hope. Chatters from park visitors filtered through the night like whispers of encouragement. June could feel the warmth of her child nestled against her chest, the weight of life propelling her forward. As they navigated the path, the silence deepened, but it also wrapped around them, a protective layer. She looked at Eli, feeling that connection solidify, expanding into something more powerful than fear. This man had opened himself to her, scars and all, and in his fragility she found a kindred spirit. "There's a diner up ahead," Eli said, pointing to a small neon-lit gas station. "We can hide there until things calm down." "Good idea," June replied, her heart swelling. For once they seemed to have a plan, find a place to breathe, recalibrate, and regroup. As they surged toward the diner's entrance, voices erupted behind them. The shadowy figures from the cafe, enraged and relentless, erupted into the park, searching, frantically scanning their surroundings. "Eli!" June gasped, panic blooming her chest as they ducked into the diner. The bell above the door chimed, announcing their arrival as they rushed into the dimly lit space, breathless and wild-eyed. A few late-night patrons looked their way, eyes widening with curiosity. But June didn't have time for explanations. Eli didn't either. They slid into a booth at the back, shadows tucking around their form like a safety blanket. "What now?" he asked, a deep breath filling his lungs. "We can't stay here forever." June nodded, her mind racing. "We need to call someone. Get help. We can't do this alone." "Who?" Eli countered. "I have no one left." She took a moment, weighing her own options, her emotions whirling. "I do. My neighbor Linda. She knows people, connections." "Let's do it," Eli said, his determination igniting. June pulled her phone from her pocket, hands trembling as she dialed Linda's number. It rang and rang before a familiar voice buzzed through. "June? Is everything okay?" Linda's concern rushed through the line, soothing some of June's panic. "It's not okay, Linda. I need your help. I'm in trouble." Tears brimmed her eyes, threats swirling around her heart like a storm. "I'm with someone who's in trouble too. We can't stay in the city any longer." "Where are you?" Linda's tone shifted, now serious, and June could feel the protective love radiating through the phone. "A diner at 5th and Main. I'll send someone to pick you up. Hold tight. Stay low. You'll be all right." "I promise," June whispered, squeezing her eyes shut. "And thank you." As she hung up, June felt an instant wave of relief wash over her, albeit fragile. They had a path forward, and in that moment she learned an important lesson. She was not alone. The fruits of her kindness were ripening into connections that provided meaningful support. "Who's coming?" Eli asked with curiosity. Relief was catching fire in his gaze, mingled with hope. "My neighbor, Linda. She knows people who can help us." "Great," he sighed, a sense of confidence rising within him. But just then, the diner door swung open. June's heart leapt into her throat as two men entered, scouring the room, their eyes darting like hawks. Eli stiffened next to her, fear pooling like ice in their shared silence. June's pulse quickened. "Eli, do you know where we were?" he breathed, eyes narrowing. "I can blend in. Give me a second." Eli glanced at her, every ounce of trust visible. She wanted to scream at him to stay tight beside her, to protect each other, but they had to act decisively. Owning the moment, June took a deep breath and then some, moving from the booth and straight to the counter. The patrons watched, faces concerned, hurt glimmering in their eyes. "Can I help you?" the waitress asked, her brow raised, puzzled by the energy in the diner. "Two men? They're looking for me," June said. Every eye scrutinized the entrance, like they were all complicit in this dangerous game. "They were just in here." The waitress gave a curt nod and then glanced towards the men who stood lingering by the door, tension heavy in the air. "I'll tell the owner to call the cops." "Thank you." June felt grateful and terrified at once. She could sense Eli edging back toward her, his brows knit with urgency. With adrenaline fueling her courage, June turned to Eli, voice low. "We have to wait. Stay quiet. Linda's on her way. Just hold on." Eli nodded, his gaze trained on the intruding men, a fire brewing in his heart. "We're not done fighting yet." The stakes felt impossibly high. They were standing on the edge of chaos, ready to leap into safety or plunge back into danger. Time crawled as they shared silent glances, fueling each other with the energy of undying resolve. With every passing second, they clung to the thread of hope that spun around them, believing that love could guide them through the darkness. A sudden hush fell. The men turned, scanning for the shape of their targets. June could barely breathe as Eli slipped behind her, their shared warmth a shield against the chill of fear clinging to the shadows. Outside, sirens wailed and headlights flickered, blazing forward like a promise. "Help's coming," June whispered, fingers entwined with Eli's. The door swung wide, revealing the light of dawn spilling into the diner with a soft golden hue. For the first time, it felt like freedom was burgeoning around them, ready to burst forth into the open. The moment was charged with possibility as they sat steadfast, hands gripping tight, hearts thundering in sync. In the face of despair, they had found the light through their shared courage. Today, they would not only survive, they would reclaim their futures together. Together, they forged ahead into the unknown, a bond of hope reshaping their destinies, breaking the chains of their troubled pasts, and stepping into the promise of brighter tomorrows. So, dear friends, this is the moment. You need to subscribe now to witness the next journey we embark on together, filled with more stories of transformation. Leave a like right now. You have the power to fuel our path forward. If this story touched your heart, comment with your reactions and thoughts. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this hope. Only true fans understand how important your support is to our community. Let's grow together.